The door crashes open. A trembling young woman backs against the silk-covered wall, her white wedding dress trailing behind her like a ghost. The man who enters moves with calculated precision, his expensive Italian shoes clicking against the marble floor. Despite his 70 years, his presence fills the room with unmistakable power. He removes his suit jacket slowly, never breaking eye contact with the terrified bride. "Please," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "Please, I can't." He raises one hand, and she falls silent. The diamond on his finger catches the chandelier light, throwing shadows across his weathered face. He circles her like a predator studying prey, each step deliberate, measured. When he finally speaks, his voice carries the weight of empires built on blood and loyalty. "I won't stop until you carry my child in your womb. Do you understand me, Amara?" Her knees buckle, but she doesn't fall. This is where her story truly begins. If you want to see how this innocent girl survives the mafia boss's command, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now let's go back to where it all started. 3 days before this terrifying wedding night. The morning sun filters through the thin curtains of a modest home in Lagos. Amara hums softly as she braids her younger sister's hair, her fingers moving with practiced ease. At 18, she carries herself with a grace that belies her humble circumstances. Her mother calls from the kitchen, and the smell of akara fills the small space with warmth and comfort. "Amara, your father wants to see you before he leaves." She finishes the braid and kisses her sister's forehead. "Stay beautiful, Zainab. I'll be back to take you to the market." Her father waits by the door, looking uncomfortable in his worn shirt. He avoids her eyes when she approaches, and something cold settles in her stomach. She's seen this look before, whenever he's hiding something. "Papa, is everything all right?" He clears his throat, adjusting his collar unnecessarily. Fine. Just going to handle some business. Take care of your mother and sisters today." He leaves before she can ask more questions. The door closes with a soft click that somehow sounds like finality. What Amara doesn't know is that her father is already 3 blocks away, sweating in the back of a taxi heading toward the industrial district. His hands shake as he pulls out a crumpled piece of paper with an address scrawled in red ink. The gambling debt has grown beyond his worst nightmares. 500 million naira. Money he doesn't have. Money he can never have. The warehouse looms before him like a concrete tomb. Inside, Korean characters mix with Yoruba symbols on the walls, evidence of the unique empire that controls this territory. Men in expensive suits speak in a mixture of Korean, English, and Pidgin, conducting business that makes and breaks lives with casual efficiency. A hand grips his shoulder from behind. "Mr. Okonkwo, the boss has been expecting you." They lead him through corridors that smell of cigarette smoke and imported whiskey. Each step takes him deeper into a world he never should have entered. The final door opens to reveal a massive office decorated with artifacts from 2 continents. Korean Celadon pottery sits beside Benin bronzes. A man sits behind an enormous desk, his back to the door, looking out floor-to-ceiling windows at the city below. "Do you know why I built this empire, Mr. Okonkwo?" The voice is smooth, educated, carrying traces of both Seoul and Lagos in its cadence. "My Korean father abandoned my African mother when she was pregnant with me. She died in poverty, begging on the streets of Itaewon. I was 5 years old." The chair turns slowly. Mr. Park Okafor is 70 years old, but his eyes burn with the intensity of a much younger man. His mixed heritage shows in features that belong to both worlds and neither. Gray hair is swept back from a face that has witnessed and ordered unspeakable things. "I swore that day that no child of mine would ever know poverty. No child of mine would ever be abandoned." He opens a folder on his desk. "You owe me 500 million naira, Mr. Okonkwo. Money you gambled away in my establishments, money you borrowed from my associates, money that is now due." Amara's father falls to his knees. "Please, sir, please, I can work. I can pay you back over time. I have a family. Yes, I know about your family. Park Okafor pulls out a photograph. Amara's face smiles up from the glossy paper, captured at the market last week. Your eldest daughter, Amara, 18 years old. Beautiful, intelligent, educated at the community school. The father's blood runs cold. No, please. Anything but that. She's just a child. She's 18, a woman by any legal standard. Park Okafor stands, moving to the window. I am 70 years old, Mr. Okonkwo. I have built an empire that spans continents. I have more money than I can spend in 3 lifetimes, but I have no heir. No child to carry my legacy. He turns back, and his expression is carved from stone. You have 48 hours to bring me 500 million naira, or I take your daughter as my wife. Those are your only options. The drive back home takes an eternity. Mr. Okonkwo stumbles through his front door to find his family gathered for lunch. Amara looks up with that radiant smile that has lit his life for 18 years, and something inside him shatters completely. Papa, you're back early. Come eat. Mama made your favorite. We need to talk. His voice breaks. All of us, now. The confession spills out like poison. Every card game, every desperate bet, every loan he took believing the next hand would solve everything. His wife weeps quietly. The younger children don't understand, asking questions that pierce like knives. But Amara sits, perfectly still, her face growing paler with each word. How much? She finally asks. 500 million. The number hangs in the air, impossibly large. They could work for 10 lifetimes and never see such money. Her mother's sobbing grows louder. Zainab clutches Amara's arm, afraid without understanding why. And the alternative? Amara's voice is steady, but her hands tremble in her lap. You said he gave you an alternative. Her father cannot meet her eyes. He wants you, as his wife. He says he needs an heir. The silence that follows is suffocating. Then Amara stands, moving to the small window that overlooks their neighborhood. Children play in the street below, their laughter drifting up like echoes from another world. She thinks of her sisters, still in school. Her mother, who has never known anything but struggle. Her father, broken and desperate. How old is he? She asks quietly. 70. She closes her eyes. When she opens them again, something has changed. Something has hardened. When does he need an answer? Amara, no. Her mother starts, but Amara raises her hand. When? Tomorrow. He's sending his people tomorrow at noon. She nods once, then walks to her tiny bedroom and closes the door. Inside, she allows herself exactly 5 minutes to cry. 5 minutes to mourn the future she'd imagined. University, a career, maybe love with someone her own age. Then she wipes her tears, straightens her shoulders, and makes her decision. The next morning she dresses in her best clothes. When the expensive cars arrive at noon, she is ready. Her mother clings to her, weeping. Her sisters don't understand why their big sister is leaving. Her father cannot look at her at all. The man who steps out of the lead vehicle is not Park Okafor, but his right hand, a Korean man named Kim who speaks perfect Yoruba. Miss Okonkwo, I am here to escort you to meet Mr. Park Okafor. He wishes to discuss the arrangement personally. I'll go, she says simply. On one condition. My family's debt is completely erased, all of it, and they receive a monthly stipend to live comfortably. Put it in writing before I get in that car. Kim's eyebrows rise slightly. He makes a phone call, speaking rapid Korean. Minutes later, a printer in the car produces a contract. Amara reads every word carefully, then signs with a steady hand. The mansion sits in the most exclusive area of Lagos, hidden behind walls that could stop a tank. Security checks them at 3 different points before they finally enter the main house. Amara has never seen such luxury. The floor is actual marble. The art on the walls could fund her entire neighborhood for years. Park Okafor waits in a sitting room that overlooks manicured gardens. He stands when she enters, studying her with those burning eyes. You came. I came. She meets his gaze without flinching. But I want to understand exactly what you expect from me. A slight smile touches his lips. Direct. I appreciate that. Sit. She sits on the edge of a chair that probably costs more than her family's house. He pours tea from a Korean pot into African-style cups, a perfect metaphor for his existence. I am dying, he says simply. Liver cancer. The doctors give me 6 months, perhaps a year if I'm fortunate. In my 70 years, I have built an empire that employs thousands, but I have no child to inherit it. No legacy beyond money and fear. He sets down his cup. I have tried before. 3 times I believed I had found women who would give me a child. Each time they took my money and betrayed me. One had an abortion without telling me until after. Another was never pregnant at all, faking tests to stay in my house. The third was carrying another man's child, planning to pass it off as mine. His voice remains calm, but Amara sees his hand clench. I cannot afford another betrayal. I need a wife who understands the arrangement clearly. You will live here. You will be treated well. You will want for nothing materially. In return, you will give me a child, an heir. Once you are pregnant and the child is born healthy, you will be free to leave or stay as you choose, with enough money to live like a queen for the rest of your life. And if I can't get pregnant, she asks, modern medicine is quite advanced. We will have the best doctors. It will happen. He leans forward. I am not asking you to love me, Amara. I am not asking for your heart. I am asking for your womb, for 9 months of your life, in exchange for your family's freedom and your financial security forever. She looks at him, really looks at him. 70 years old, dying, desperate for the one thing money cannot buy. There is something almost pitiable in it, if he weren't so terrifying. When would this wedding happen? Tomorrow. I have already arranged everything. We will marry legally and traditionally, following both Korean and Nigerian customs. Then you will move here. The doctors will begin monitoring your cycle, and we will fulfill the physical requirements of conception. Heat floods her face, but she doesn't look away. You're asking me to sleep with a man old enough to be my grandfather. I am not asking, he says quietly. You agreed when you signed the contract, but I am not a monster, Amara. I will not force you violently. However, this will happen. The contract you signed is legally binding. You will fulfill your obligations, or your family will face consequences that go far beyond money. The threat hangs between them, soft but unmistakable. She realizes then the full weight of what she's done. There is no escape, no way back. I understand, she whispers. Good. He stands, signaling the end of the meeting. Kim will show you to your rooms. You may call your family tonight to say goodbye. Tomorrow, you become Mrs. Park Okafor. The wedding happens with surreal speed. Traditional Korean hanbok in African print fabric. Guests who look like they've stepped from crime thrillers. Blessings in 3 languages. Her family attends, her mother crying throughout, her father unable to meet anyone's eyes. Amara moves through it like a ghost, smiling when required, speaking when prompted. The reception is lavish. Important people congratulate her husband on his beautiful bride. She hears whispers. So young. Poor girl. I give it 6 months. No one says anything directly. Everyone fears the man she has married. As the evening wears on, dread builds in her chest. She knows what comes next. She has always known since the moment she agreed, but the reality of it grows more terrifying with each passing hour. Finally, Kim approaches quietly. It is time. He is waiting in the master bedroom. Her legs barely carry her up the stairs. The doors to the bedroom are carved wood imported from Korea, inlaid with mother of pearl. She pushes them open with shaking hands. The room is enormous. A bed large enough for 5 people dominates the space, covered in silk sheets. Candles burn on surfaces, casting dancing shadows. Park Okafor stands by the window, looking out at his domain. He has removed his jacket. His white shirt is crisp, expensive. She closes the door behind her, and he turns. Amara, He moves toward her, and she fights every instinct to run. "Do you know why I chose you?" She shakes her head, unable to speak. "Because in your eyes, I saw strength. Not just fear, but will. The other women who betrayed me were weak, greedy, calculating. You are different. You sacrificed yourself for your family. That kind of loyalty is rare. That kind of loyalty breeds strong children." He circles her slowly, and she feels like prey under a predator's gaze. His hand reaches out, touching her hair, her cheek. She flinches, but doesn't pull away. "I need you to understand something," he says, his voice low. "I have spent my entire life building my empire. I came from nothing, worse than nothing. I was the abandoned son of two worlds, belonging to neither. Everything I have, I took with my own hands. I am not gentle, Amara. I am not kind. I am what the world made me." His hand moves to her chin, tilting her face up to meet his eyes. "But this child we will create, my heir. They will have everything I did not. They will have power, wealth, education, protection. They will never know poverty, never know abandonment. Do you understand?" "Yes," she breathes. "Good." He steps back slightly. "Remove your wedding dress." Her hands shake so badly she can barely manage the buttons. The dress pools at her feet, leaving her in the silk undergarments the attendants put on her this morning. She crosses her arms over her chest, trying to preserve some modesty. "No." His voice is sharp. "No hiding. I will see what is mine." Tears stream down her face as she lowers her arms. He studies her with clinical interest, like examining merchandise. Then he moves closer, his hand trailing down her arm. "Do you understand your purpose here, Amara? Say it. I want to hear you say it." To give you a child," she whispers. "No." He grips her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "To carry my heir, my legacy, the continuation of everything I have built. This is not about a child. This is about dynasty. This is about ensuring that my blood, my empire, my name, continues long after cancer takes me to the grave." His intensity terrifies her. This is not just a dying man's wish. This is obsession. "Open your legs," he says, and the command from our opening scene finally makes sense. "I will not stop, not tonight, not tomorrow, not any night, until you carry my child in your womb, until my heir grows inside you, until my legacy is secured. Do you understand me?" She nods, unable to form words, and he guides her toward the bed. What happens next is something Amara will never speak of, even years later. The technical act of conception, stripped of romance, stripped of tenderness. A transaction between bodies, one desperate, one resigned. When it is finally over, he stands and begins dressing in a silk robe. She lies in the bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling like she has left her body entirely. "You will sleep here every night," he tells her. "The doctors will come tomorrow to begin monitoring your cycle. We will continue this every night until you conceive. Once you are pregnant, you will have the finest prenatal care money can buy. Is that clear?" "Yes," she whispers to the ceiling. He pauses at the door. "I know you hate me right now. That is acceptable. Hate does not prevent conception. In time, perhaps you will understand what I'm building. Or perhaps you won't. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the child." The door closes, and she is alone. Amara curls on her side and cries silently into the expensive pillow, mourning the girl she was just yesterday, before she became a vessel for a dying man's obsession. Morning brings doctors, 3 of them, with equipment and clipboards, treating her like a science experiment. They take blood, perform ultrasounds, ask invasive questions. Park Okafor watches from a chair in the corner, monitoring everything. "She is healthy," the lead doctor reports. "Optimal age for conception. We'll begin tracking her ovulation. With scheduled intercourse during her fertile window, we estimate conception within 3 to 6 months." "Sooner," Park Okafor says flatly. "I don't have 6 months." The doctors exchange uncomfortable glances but nod. After they leave, Amara sits on the edge of the bed, wrapped in a robe, feeling more alone than she ever has in her life. You may explore the house and grounds, he tells her. You are not a prisoner, but you will not leave the property without my permission and escort. Your phone has been replaced with one that I monitor. You may call your family once per week for 15 minutes. Kim will show you where everything is. Why? She asks suddenly. Why go through all this? Why? Not just adopt? Or use a surrogate? His expression darkens. Because adoption doesn't carry my blood. Because surrogacy allows too much opportunity for deception. Because I need to know, absolutely know, that this child is mine. Watching them grow inside you, being present for every moment of the pregnancy, that is the only way I can be certain. He moves to the door, then pauses. I am not the villain you think I am, Amara. I am simply a man who refuses to die without purpose. The world tried to erase me before I was even born. This child is my revenge against that erasure. Try to understand. The days blur together in a nightmare routine. Every morning, temperature checks and ovulation tests. Every afternoon, enforced rest and nutrition planned by dietitians. Every night he comes to her bedroom, and they perform the mechanical act that might create his heir. Sometimes it takes minutes, sometimes longer. He is never violent, but he is never tender either. Efficient, clinical, desperate. Amara begins to understand that his desperation is scarier than violence. A violent man can be reasoned with, can tire, can be satisfied. But desperation has no logic, no limit. He is dying, and this child is his only grasp at immortality. 3 weeks pass. She begins to recognize the staff's pitying looks, the way conversations stop when she enters rooms. She is the boss's latest obsession, and everyone wonders what will happen if she fails to conceive before he dies. One afternoon, she discovers a locked room on the 3rd floor. Curiosity wins over caution, and she searches until she finds a key ring in Kim's office. The room opens to reveal a shrine of sorts. Photos line the walls, Park Okafor through the decades. As a child on Seoul streets, hollow-eyed and alone. As a teenager, already carrying the seeds of hardness. As a young man, building his first business in Lagos. And then the women. 3 of them, each beautiful, each photographed extensively. Newspaper clippings detail scandals. Mafia boss's girlfriend found dead, suspected suicide. Korean-Nigerian businessman sues ex-partner for fraud. Abortion clinic records leaked in high-profile case. The last wall is the most disturbing. Baby clothes, never worn. A crib, still wrapped in plastic. Toys, still in boxes. All waiting for a child that never came. I see you found my museum of failures. His voice from the doorway makes her jump. She hadn't heard him approach. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... No, look, I want you to look. He enters the room, moving to a photograph of a stunning woman with kind eyes. Ji-Yun. I loved her, truly loved her. I thought she loved me too. When she told me she was pregnant, I cried with joy. I was 45 years old, and finally, I would have a child. His finger traces the photo's edge. She took $50 million and had an abortion in Singapore. Left me a note saying she couldn't bring a child into my world of violence. As if her world was so pure. He moves to the next photo. Ngozi, practical, intelligent. She agreed to have my child for money. I appreciated the honesty. Except the pregnancy test was fake. Elaborate scheme involving a doctor I trusted. She lived here for 6 months, pretending while stealing business secrets to sell to my competitors. The third photo shows a woman who looks remarkably like Amara. Yumi, the worst betrayal. She was pregnant. That part was real. But the child wasn't mine. Her lover's. They planned to pass it off as mine, let me raise another man's son as my heir. I only discovered the truth through DNA testing I ordered privately. He turns to Amara, and she sees something she hasn't seen before. Not anger, but pain. Deep, old pain that has calcified into obsession. So you see, I am not cruel without reason. I am cruel because the alternative was to die with nothing, To have built all this, he gestures broadly, and have no one to inherit it. To have my empire picked apart by vultures, to be forgotten as if I never existed. I can't accept that, Amara. I won't. Despite herself, despite everything, she feels a flicker of something that isn't quite sympathy but isn't hatred either. Understanding, maybe, of how much pain can warp a person. But I'm not them, she says quietly. I didn't choose this freely, so I have no reason to betray you. I'm here because you forced me. That should make you trust me more, not less. He considers this, then nods slowly. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps that is why I chose force over seduction this time. Honesty, even brutal honesty, over false love. A moment of strange connection passes between them. Then he breaks it. Your ovulation window begins tomorrow. The next 3 days are crucial. I will come to you multiple times per day. I know it's exhausting, but you're dying, she finishes. You don't have time to waste. I understand. Something shifts in his expression. Not warmth, exactly, but acknowledgement. You're stronger than the others were. Stronger than I expected. The next 3 days are grueling. True to his word, he comes to her room 3, sometimes 4 times per day. Dawn, afternoon, evening, midnight. Her body aches. She feels reduced to pure biology, a vessel whose only value is potential fertility. On the 4th day, she wakes to find him sitting in a chair beside the bed, watching her sleep. It should be creepy, and it is, but there's also something almost vulnerable in how he watches. Did you know, he says softly, that my mother used to sing to me in Korean? I barely remember her face, but I remember her voice. He stops, swallows hard. I want my child to know their mother's voice, to have memories that don't hurt. It's the most human thing she's heard him say. What happened to her? Your mother? She died of pneumonia when I was 7. We were living under a bridge in Itaewon. No money for doctors. I watched her die over 3 days, and there was nothing I could do. His hands clench. My child will never be helpless, never. And your father, the Korean man who abandoned you, dead. I found him 15 years ago, living comfortably in Busan with his real family. He didn't recognize me at first. When I told him who I was, he tried to offer me money to go away. A cold smile. I didn't kill him, but I destroyed his business, his reputation, his family's comfort. I wanted him to live knowing what he'd thrown away. He died of a heart attack 6 months later. Some might call it revenge. I call it justice. Amara sits up slowly. You've spent your whole life fighting the world that hurt you. But what kind of world are you creating for this child? One built on fear and violence. His eyes flash. One where they have power. The world respects nothing else, Amara. Love didn't save my mother. Kindness didn't feed me on the streets. Only power matters, only strength, and my child will have both. And what if they don't want it? What if they want to be normal? Normal? He laughs bitterly. Normal is what happens to ordinary people. My child will be extraordinary. They will be protected, educated, connected. They will have choices I never had. And when they are old enough, they can choose to reject it all if they wish. But at least they will have the choice. I never did. The argument exhausts her. She lies back down, turning away from him. After a moment, she hears him stand and leave. 2 weeks pass, then 3. The doctors come every few days to test, but each time the results are negative. Not pregnant, not yet. Park Okafor grows more desperate, more intense. His health is visibly declining. He coughs more frequently, sometimes bringing up blood that he tries to hide. His face grows gaunt. Time is running out, and they both know it. Maybe it's a sign, she says one night after another negative test. Maybe this isn't meant to happen. He grabs her shoulders, and for the first time, she sees real fear in his eyes. No, don't say that. It will happen. It has to happen. You can't control everything. Watch me. He releases her abruptly, pulling out his phone. I'll bring in more specialists, fertility treatments, whatever it takes. You're scaring me, she whispers. He stops, really looking at her. Good. You should be scared. Because I am terrified, Amara. Terrified of dying for nothing, of becoming nothing, of having existed without purpose. Do you understand that terror? She does, strangely. Not the same terror, but she understands existential fear. The fear that your life won't matter, that you'll leave no mark. What will you name them? She asks suddenly. This child you want so badly, have you thought about their name? The question catches him off guard. If a boy, Taeyang. It means son in Korean, because he will be the light that outlives me. If a girl, Adaize, a princess in Igbo, because she will be royalty. Despite everything, Amara finds herself moved. These aren't just abstract concepts to him. In his mind, this child already exists, already has an identity, a future. Tell me about them, she says. What do you imagine? He sits on the edge of the bed, and for once, the hardness in his face softens. I imagine them smart, curious. I'll make sure they learn Korean, Igbo, Yoruba, English. They'll understand all the parts of themselves. I imagine teaching them, not the business, not at first, but simple things. How to read people, how to stay strong when the world tries to break you, how to honor their mother's sacrifice. Will you tell them? How I came to be their mother. I'll tell them the truth, that you were brave enough to save your family, that you gave me the greatest gift when I had nothing left to give, that they should honor you, always. It's the closest thing to kindness he's offered her. She finds herself softening slightly, enough to reach out and touch his hand. I'm trying, she says. I'm trying to get pregnant. It's not for lack of trying. I know. He squeezes her hand once, briefly. The doctors say everything is functioning correctly. It's just timing, chance, things even I can't control with money or power. 5 weeks after the wedding, Amara wakes feeling different, nauseous, tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. She says nothing, not wanting to raise false hope, but when the doctors come that afternoon for their routine check, they notice immediately. Blood tests are rushed to the lab. Park Okafor paces the room like a caged tiger, unable to sit still. Amara watches him, seeing the raw desperation he usually hides. After an hour that feels like an eternity, the doctor returns, smiling. Congratulations, Mr. Park Okafor. Your wife is pregnant. About 2 weeks along, we estimate. Still very early, but the hormone levels are good. The room goes silent. Park Okafor stands frozen, as if he can't process the words. Then, slowly, he moves to Amara's side, kneeling beside the examination table. His hand hovers over her still flat stomach, trembling. May I? He asks. And it's the first time he's asked permission for anything. She nods, and his palm presses gently against her abdomen. His eyes close, and she sees his lips move in what might be prayer or thanks, or simply disbelief. You did it, he whispers. We did it. Tears stream down his face, and she's shocked to realize this is the first time she's seen him cry, this terrifying, powerful man, reduced to tears by news of a life barely begun. I'm going to need you to promise me something, he says, looking up at her. Promise me that no matter what happens to me, you'll tell this child about their father. Not just the crimes and the power, but why. Tell them I loved them before they existed. Tell them everything I did was to give them a better start than I had. You'll tell them yourself, she says. But they both know the truth. His time is running out. The next weeks transform everything. Suddenly, Amara is precious cargo. The absolute best doctors, nutrition specialists, modified bed rest. Park Okafor hovers constantly, terrified something will go wrong. His health continues declining, but he fights to stay alive long enough to see his child born. Hold on, he tells her during an ultrasound at 8 weeks, when they first hear the heartbeat. His hand grips hers with surprising strength. Stay strong, little one. Your appa is fighting for you. At 12 weeks, they learn the baby is a boy. Taeyang, he says immediately. His son. He commissions artists to paint murals in the nursery, blending Korean and Nigerian imagery. Dragons dancing with leopards. Hanbok-clad figures beside masquerade dancers. Amara finds herself pulled into his planning, his obsessive preparation. Despite everything, she can't help but be moved by his devotion to this unborn child. He's trying to compress a lifetime of fatherhood into whatever time he has left. But then, at 16 weeks, something happens that changes everything. She overhears a conversation she isn't meant to. Two of Park Okafor's men, talking in the garden, not realizing she's on the balcony above. Once the kid is born, the girl becomes a liability. Boss's enemies will target her to get to the child. Yeah, I heard Park already gave the order. After the birth, once the boy is safe, the mother has an accident. Clean. Quick. Kid grows up thinking she died in childbirth or something. Amara's blood runs cold. She backs away silently, her mind racing. Of course this was always the plan. She was never meant to survive. He needs her womb, not her life. She retreats to her room, trying to think. She can't run. Where would she go? His organization spans continents. She can't fight. She's pregnant, vulnerable. She needs to confront him, to know if this is true. That evening, when he comes to check on her as he does every few hours, she doesn't let him touch her stomach as usual. "Something's wrong?" he asks immediately, alert. "I heard your men talking." She keeps her voice steady. "About what happens to me after the baby is born." His expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. "They said you're going to kill me, that I'm a liability." The silence stretches, then quietly, "You weren't supposed to know." Her world tilts. "So it's true. This whole time you've been planning to murder me once I give birth." "Not murder." He sits heavily in a chair, suddenly looking every one of his 70 years. "Protection for Taeyang. My enemies would use you to get to him. As long as you're alive, you're a weakness I can't afford. I'm his mother." "You're a womb," he says flatly. "A vessel. We were always clear about that." The cruelty of it steals her breath. She's been fool enough to think his devotion to the baby might extend to her, that she might matter as more than biology. "You're a monster," she whispers. "Yes." He doesn't deny it. "But I'm an honest monster. I never promised you forever, Amara. I promised you safety for your family and compensation, both of which you'll receive. After I'm dead." He stands, moving toward the door. "It's nothing personal. In another life, perhaps we could have. But that doesn't matter. What matters is Taeyang's safety. And you are a threat to that, whether you mean to be or not." Before he reaches the door, she says, "What if I told you there's a bigger threat? One you don't even know about?" He pauses. "Explain." "Your own men. I heard them talking about more than just killing me. They mentioned plans for after you die, taking over the business, cutting out complications." She meets his eyes. "They're planning to eliminate Taeyang too. He's just a baby, no use to them. Why keep a liability when they can split your empire among themselves?" His face goes very still, very cold. "You're lying, trying to save yourself." "Am I? Or have you been so focused on creating an heir that you forgot to secure his future?" She stands, moving closer. "You taught me to read people these past months. Watching you negotiate, manipulate, control. I see the same calculation in your men's eyes when they look at me, at your baby. They're not loyal to a child. They're loyal to power." He searches her face, and she sees the moment he realizes she might be telling the truth. His empire, built on fear and force, was never designed to transition to an infant heir. "Names," he demands. "Give me names. Not until you promise me something, not until we make a new deal. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you." She places her hand on her stomach, on the baby he's dying to protect. If something happens to me now, the stress could cause a miscarriage. Your precious heir, gone. And even if I carry to term, if you kill me after, those same men will kill Taeyang within a year of your death. You know I'm right. The calculation happens behind his eyes. She can see him weighing options, probabilities, risks. Finally, what do you want? Life, for both of us, a real arrangement. I raise Taeyang. You set up protections that extend to me as his mother. Trusts, security, legal guardianship that no one can contest. Your men see me not as a liability, but as essential to the heir's well-being. And in return, I help you identify the traitors. I've been invisible in this house for months. I hear things, see things. He stares at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he begins to laugh. It's a harsh, painful sound. You've learned well, haven't you? Turned my own lessons against me. You taught me survival, she says simply. Now I'm surviving. He moves to his desk, pulls out his phone. Kim, conference room, 5 minutes, bring everyone. Then he turns back to her. You're right about one thing. I've been so obsessed with creating an heir that I didn't properly plan for his minority. That changes now, but understand this. If you're lying, if this is a scheme, both you and your entire family will suffer consequences you can't imagine. I'm not lying, and I don't want my child growing up an orphan like you did. That's our common ground. Over the next hours, Amara names names and describes conversations. Park Okafor's investigation is swift and brutal. By morning, 3 of his top lieutenants are dead, 2 more imprisoned in the compound's basement. The betrayal ran deeper than either of them knew. You saved my son's life, he tells her after it's done. His shirt stained with blood that isn't his. Perhaps I was wrong about you, about your value. I didn't do it for you, she says honestly. I did it for Taeyang. I'm his mother. That means something, even if it doesn't to you. Something changes in his expression. My mother protected me until her last breath. I dishonor her memory by planning to kill you for doing the same. I'm sorry. The apology shocks her. She never expected that. New arrangement, he continues. You live. As Taeyang's mother, as my wife. When I die, and I will die soon, the cancer is accelerating. You inherit a portion of the legitimate businesses. Enough to keep you and Taeyang comfortable. Kim will help you. The violent enterprises will be dissolved over time. I don't want that life for my son. Why the change? Because you were right. I was so focused on not being abandoned that I was going to create another orphan. Another child without their mother. I can't. His voice breaks. I can't do that. Not to him. In his final months, Park Okafor transforms. He grows weaker, the cancer consuming him, but also somehow softer. He reads to Amara's stomach in Korean, telling their son stories about both his heritages. He holds her when morning sickness is bad, awkward, but trying. He stops treating her as a vessel and begins treating her as the mother of his child. Do you think he'll forgive me? He asks one night, lying beside her, his hand on her 6-month pregnant belly. For how I brought him into the world? I think, Amara says carefully, that he'll understand you were trying to survive the only way you knew how. I was cruel to you. Yes, I'm sorry. I wish I could take it back. Give you the choice I never gave you. You can't, but you can do better now, for the time you have left. He does try. In those final months, she sees glimpses of who he might have been without all the pain and betrayal. A man who makes her laugh with dry observations about the staff, who holds her when she cries, missing her family, who plans not an empire for his son, but a life. At 7 months pregnant, he collapses. The cancer has spread everywhere. The doctors give him weeks at most. I need to see him, he gasps from the hospital bed he's had installed in the house, refusing to die away from his family. I need to hold my son. He's not due for 2 more months. I won't make it. Blood stains his lips. Please, tell them to deliver early. Please, Amara. She looks at this dying man who stole her life and somehow became something more complicated than a monster. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. The cesarean section happens in the mansion. A full surgical team brought in. Park Okafor watches from a wheelchair, too weak to stand, as they lift a tiny, perfect baby boy from Amara's womb. Taeyang's first cries fill the room, and she sees tears stream down her husband's wasted face. They place the baby in his arms, carefully supporting his too weak grip. He looks down at his son with such pure love that Amara's own tears fall. "Hello, my son," he whispers in Korean. "Your appa loves you. I'm sorry I won't be here to watch you grow, but your Uma is strong. She'll protect you, she'll tell you about me, and you'll be everything I wasn't, loved from your first breath." He holds Taeyang for 10 minutes before his strength gives out. They take the baby back to Amara, who cradles her son against her chest. Park Okafor watches them, his expression peaceful for perhaps the first time since she's known him. "Thank you," he tells her, "for my son, for staying, for giving an old monster grace he didn't deserve." "Thank you," she replies, "for letting me live, for choosing differently." 3 days later, Park Okafor dies in his sleep, his hand stretched toward the bassinet where Taeyang sleeps. His last word, the nurse reports, was, "Son." The funeral is massive, people from around the world attending, but Amara keeps Taeyang close, protected, remembering her promise. She stands at the grave, Korean and Nigerian flags side by side, and tells her sleeping son about his father. "He was complicated," she whispers. "Cruel and kind, broken and strong, but he loved you more than anything. Remember that." 6 months later, Amara sits in the garden of the mansion that is now hers, watching Taeyang reach for sunlight with chubby baby hands. Kim manages the business dissolution, transitioning everything into legitimate enterprises as Park Okafor wished. Her family visits often now, her sisters playing with their nephew, her mother helping with night feedings. She thinks about the girl she was and the woman she became, about survival and sacrifice, about how life takes unexpected turns, and sometimes there's no easy way to categorize experience. Was she a victim? Yes. Was she also surprisingly lucky in the end? Also yes. "Your appa was a complicated man," she tells Taeyang, who babbles at her in baby language. "But you, my son, you get to choose who you'll be. You get to take the good from both of us and leave the rest. That's the gift I can give you. Choice, freedom, love." The baby grabs her finger, holding tight, and she thinks about the strange path that led here. How she started this journey terrified, violated, trapped, but somehow, through survival and unexpected grace, found a kind of peace. She won't forget what was done to her, the violation, the cruelty, but she also won't forget the transformation she witnessed, how even a monster could choose, in the end, to protect rather than destroy. "We'll be okay," she promises Taeyang, kissing his forehead. "Both of us. We survived the storm, and now we get to live in the sunshine." And in that moment, holding her son in the garden of a mansion built on pain but now filled with possibility, Amara believes it. They will be okay. They already are. If this story moved you, if it kept you watching until the very end, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what you thought of Park Okafor's transformation, and subscribe for more dramatic Afro-Korean stories. Should I make a part 2 following Taeyang as he grows up? Let me know below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.